There is a $9 billion industry that depends on you never learning what I am about to show you. Every spring, about 80% of American families go to a garden center and buy bottles of chemicals to spray on their vegetables. We have done this for decades. A pest arrives, we spray. It comes back, we spray again. And the companies that sell those bottles earn another $3 billion every year in the United States alone. But about 300 miles west of Manhattan, in the farming hills of Lancaster County, Pennsylvania, there is a community of more than 44,000 people who have grown food for over 3 centuries without ever buying a single bottle of synthetic pesticide. Not even one. And their gardens do not just survive. They thrive. Their tomato plants are stronger, their squash vines are cleaner, and the damage from pests is only a small part of what most of us deal with. A few years ago, I was standing in one of those gardens, looking at rows of peppers without a single aphid. And I asked myself, what do these people understand that the rest of us keep ignoring? Today I will explain step by step what Amish gardeners do differently, so you can start using it in your own garden this season. Stay until the end, because the last technique I will share only needs an old toilet paper roll. It is one of those very simple ideas that made me feel a little foolish for not thinking about it 30 years ago. But first, we need some context. Because this is not only a gardening story, it is also the story of a system designed to keep people dependent and of a community that quietly chose to step away from it centuries ago. The modern pesticide industry began in the 1940s, right after the Second World War. Chemical companies needed new markets for the synthetic compounds they had produced during the war. So chemicals like DDT, organophosphates, and chlorinated hydrocarbons were quickly moved from war use to agriculture. And here is the part that should make you think. The business model was never to completely eliminate pest problems. The goal was to control them just enough so that next season you would come back and buy the product again. This is not a conspiracy. It is simply economics. A product that removed the need for itself forever would be bad business. For 80 years, most of us have been trapped in the same cycle. Spray, control pests for a short time, they come back, and we spray again. Meanwhile, the Amish were working in their gardens and watching this from a distance, because they had already understood something that modern agricultural science is only now beginning to prove. You do not defeat pests by killing them. You defeat pests by building a garden where they cannot live. And that difference, that simple change in thinking, is worth more than any bottle on the shelf of a garden store. You don't beat pests by killing them. You beat them by building a garden where they cannot survive. This shift in mindset is worth more than every chemical on a garden center shelf combined. The story that changed everything began with John Kempf, a young Amish man who made one of the most significant discoveries in modern agriculture.
You see, this here is the solution. And it's safe? Proven results, sir. No need to worry.
Kempf's family was the heaviest user of pesticides in their region, yet between 2002 and 2004, they lost 70% of their main crops despite using every chemical available. In 2004, they rented a neighboring field that had never been treated with pesticides. They planted melons in both fields, side by side. In the chemically treated field, 80% of the plants were destroyed by disease. In the neighboring field, the infection rate was 0. Identical plants, just 2 feet apart, one dying, the other perfectly healthy. The plants were being eaten alive by insects and destroyed by diseases, and nothing in the bottles could stop it. Then something happened that changed everything. In 2004, the Camp family rented a nearby field from a dairy farmer. This field had never been treated with pesticides. It had only been farmed with a simple 4-year rotation: corn, small grains, and hay. They planted melons in both fields, the treated field and the untreated field, with the rows running exactly along the property line between them. Same variety, same planting date, same fertilizer, and the same fungicide applications. At harvest time, on the Camp family's land, the one that had been heavily sprayed for more than a decade, 80% of the leaves were covered with powdery mildew. On the farmer's untreated land, The infection was 0. Not 5%. Not 10%. 0. You could see a clear line right in the middle of the field where the two soils met. Identical plants only 60 centimeters apart. One destroyed and the other perfectly healthy. Kemp wanted to know why. And this is where the story becomes extraordinary. Kemp discovered that plants have a literal immune system. When a plant receives the correct mineral nutrition, specifically iron, manganese, copper, zinc, and magnesium, it achieves complete photosynthesis. In this state, the plant converts soluble nitrates into complex proteins. Insects like caterpillars and aphids have very simple digestive systems. They can digest nitrates, but they cannot digest complete proteins. When a plant is exceptionally healthy, it removes the insect's food source at a cellular level. The pest starves in the presence of plenty. The plant simply becomes indigestible to them.
You want a piece of this? Think again! Grrr, I'll get you! Ha! Not today, pal. Go find your own food.
The plant did not kill them and did not repel them. It simply removed their food source at the cellular level. The pest starves in the middle of abundance. Read that sentence again, because it changes everything you thought you knew about insect control. An aphid lands on your tomato, tries to feed, finds nothing it can process, and flies away hungry. No spraying, no traps, no intervention of any kind. The plant defended itself simply by being too healthy to be eaten. And this change in resistance can happen within 24 to 48 hours once the right minerals are available. In just 2 days, a plant can go from being a magnet for pests to becoming pest-resistant. Soil is the plant's immune system. The first practical step is to spread 2 to 3 inches of well-aged organic compost before planting. This creates a diverse microbiome. After a few seasons, your plants will develop thicker stems and a deep green color, becoming naturally resistant to attack. Peer-reviewed research conducted by institutions such as Cornell, Penn State, and several European universities confirms that soils balanced in minerals and rich in biological activity produce plants with stronger cell walls, higher concentrations of defensive compounds, and measurably greater resistance to pests. A paper published in Frontiers in Plant Science found that balanced nutrition is the first line of defense for plants, with minerals directly regulating immune enzymes and activating systemic resistance pathways. Science has finally reached what the Amish had already understood through 300 years of observation. Soil is not just where the plant lives. Soil is the plant's immune system. So here is your first practical step, and it is the foundation on which everything else is built. Every spring, before planting a single seedling, spread 5 to 7 centimeters of well-aged compost over your garden beds and mix it into the top 10 to 15 centimeters of soil. If you can find compost that includes aged horse or cow manure, even better. That combination of plant matter and animal waste creates an incredibly diverse soil microbiome. Planting in single rows is like building a highway for pests. The Amish mix everything. By surrounding tomatoes with basil or brassicas with dill, you create olfactory confusion. The pest literally cannot find the target plant because of the strong chemical signals from the aromatic herbs. A healthy garden needs the right insects. Ladybugs and predatory wasps are your 24-hour control team. To keep them, create an insectary strip with flowers that bloom from spring to autumn. Never buy ladybugs unless you have the habitat ready first. They need a reason to stay. The key is consistency. One single application will not transform your garden, but after 2 or 3 seasons of building the soil biology in this way, you will start to notice something extraordinary. Your plants will have thicker stems, a darker green color, and they will recover from small pest attacks much faster than before. If you live in a colder region, where winter usually brings strong frosts and the soil stays hard or frozen for a period of time, the best moment to spread compost is when the ground begins to thaw and can be worked again. This usually happens in late winter or early spring. Ideally, apply the compost a few weeks before the usual end of the frost season. This gives the compost time to start integrating with the soil, activate microorganisms, and release nutrients before plants begin their strong growth in spring. In warmer regions, where winters are shorter and the soil rarely freezes, this process can start earlier. In many places, the soil can already be prepared at the end of winter when temperatures begin to slowly rise. Applying compost during this period allows it to mix naturally with the soil, helped by the moisture from late winter and early spring rains, creating rich biological conditions for plant growth when the main planting season arrives. The most effective practice is a 15-minute morning walk. This allows you to catch problems while they are still small. Removing 2 caterpillars today prevents an infestation in a few days. It's the time to check the underside of leaves and understand the rhythm of your garden. Carry a small bucket half filled with water and a little dish soap. Start at one end of the garden and move slowly through each row. You are not just admiring your plants. You are turning the leaves, checking the underside of squash leaves, and running your eyes along every stem. And when you find a pest, you remove it by hand and drop it into the bucket. I know it sounds almost ridiculously simple, but here is why it is so important. Most catastrophic pest damage does not happen because of 1 or 2 insects. It happens because a small population was allowed to grow out of control. A single tomato hornworm can strip an entire branch in 48 hours. A pair of squash bugs can lay hundreds of eggs in just 1 week. By the time you notice the damage and run to get a spray bottle, you are already 3 steps behind. The Amish morning walk catches problems when they are still just problems, not disasters. 2 hornworms on Monday become 0 hornworms on Monday, instead of turning into 20 hornworms by Friday. For tomatoes, look for hornworms on the upper leaves and along the stems. They camouflage very well, but you can look for dark droppings on the leaves below as a clue. For squash and cucumbers, turn the leaves and look for small clusters of bronze-colored eggs on the underside. These are squash bug eggs, and scraping them off with your fingernail right now can save you a big headache 2 weeks later. Now, this next technique is one of my favorites, because it is clever in a way that makes you smile once you understand how it works. Instead of trying to keep pests completely away from the garden, the Amish sometimes do the opposite. They invite them on purpose, and then send them to the wrong address. This method is called trap cropping. You plant something that the pest likes even more than your main crop, and you place it around the edges of the garden so it attracts the pests away from the vegetables you really care about. Nasturtiums are the classic example. Aphids are incredibly attracted to nasturtiums, much more than to your beans or peppers. Plant them in a ring around the outside of your garden or at the ends of your rows, spacing them about 15 to 20 centimeters apart. The aphids will gather on the nasturtiums and mostly leave your main crops alone. Once the nasturtiums are full of aphids, you have 2 choices: pull the plants out and dispose of them, or even better, leave them there and allow ladybugs and lacewings from your beneficial insect area to come and feed. You have just created a self-sustaining cycle. The trap crop attracts the pests, beneficial insects find the pests, and your vegetables remain protected in the center of the garden. Think about it for a moment. You did not fight anything, you did not buy anything, and you did not spray anything. You simply arranged living things in a certain pattern, and the pest problem begins to solve itself. This is not just gardening. This is ecosystem engineering. For critical moments, use a spray made of 4 garlic cloves and 2 hot peppers soaked in a liter of water for 12 hours, plus a bit of mild soap. This doesn't kill with chemicals. It simply makes the plant so unpleasant that the pest moves elsewhere. The soap helps the spray stick to the leaves and also breaks down the waxy coating of soft-bodied insects such as aphids. Spray it directly on the affected plants, focusing on the underside of the leaves where most pests like to hide. Apply it early in the morning or late in the evening. Never spray under the strong midday sun, because the soap can cause mild leaf burn in intense heat. One application usually keeps pests under control for about 5 to 7 days. Reapply after heavy rain. Now I want to be honest with you. This spray does not kill pests instantly on contact like many synthetic chemical products do. Instead, it discourages them, making your plants unpleasant in smell and taste. Because of that, the pests usually move on to easier targets. A brilliant technique. Place a cardboard tube ring around the base of new seedlings, burying it an inch into the soil. This stops cutworms from destroying the stems at night. The cardboard decomposes naturally just as the plant becomes strong enough to protect itself. Cutworms are larvae that crawl on the surface of the soil at night and completely chew through the stems of young transplants. Most gardeners do not even realize that cutworms are the reason they lose their seedlings, because the damage happens in the dark and the only evidence is a stem cut down in the morning. Cutworms are responsible for more dead transplants than most of us realize. A plant collar stops them completely. They cannot climb over it, and they cannot chew through it. The total cost over 3 seasons was $0 and maybe 5 minutes of work on each planting day. I calculated it once over a period of 3 years. The conventional approach would have cost me between $40 and $60 in treatments for cutworms and replacement seedlings. The Amish approach cost me nothing and worked better. It is that kind of quiet, practical wisdom that does not sell products, does not generate advertising revenue, and does not appear in the news, but saves your garden one seedling at a time. And here is the idea that connects all of this, something the Amish understand deeply and that many of us are slowly and painfully learning again. There is a German word that flows through every part of Amish life, like a river through a valley. Gelassenheit does not translate perfectly, but the closest meaning is something like surrendering to the natural order, letting go of the need to control everything, and trusting that the system has its own natural balance, one that existed long before we arrived with our technological tools. This is not passivity, it is cooperation. And the garden is where this becomes most clear. When you spray a pesticide, even an organic one, you are stepping outside the system. You kill the pest, yes, but you also kill the ladybugs, lacewings, parasitic wasps, and ground beetles that were already working to control those pests for free. Then you wonder why the pests return worse than before. It is because you destroyed the army that was defending you. The Amish do not fight nature. They set the table and let nature eat. They build the soil so plants can develop their own immunity. They plant companion crops so pests cannot easily find their targets. They create habitat so beneficial insects have a home. They walk through the garden every morning so nothing gets out of control. They use trap crops to redirect what they cannot prevent, and when they need a little extra help, they mix something from the kitchen that discourages pests without destroying the system. It is not a single technique, it is a philosophy. And it has worked on the same land for the same families for more than 300 years, while the rest of us were buying bottles and spraying hope. So here is what I want you to take from all of this. Build your soil every year with compost and aged organic matter. Plant companions that confuse pests and attract their natural enemies. Create habitat for beneficial insects that do the hard work while you sleep. Walk through your garden every morning and notice problems while they are still small. Use trap crops to pull pests away from what really matters. And when you need a boost, prepare a simple garlic and chili spray that discourages pests without destroying the system. Try a cardboard collar around your transplants this spring. It costs nothing, takes 5 minutes, and it might be the most satisfying change you make in your garden this year. The Amish have been doing this for 3 centuries. Science now confirms why it works. The only thing missing is for you to try it. If you enjoyed this video, please subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Let me know in the comments which city you're watching from. I'd love to know where our community is growing so I can create even more personalized content for your region. Don't forget to share this video with a fellow gardener and take a look at our product recommendations in the link below. They were selected to help you build a wonderful and balanced garden. See you next time.